So what changed and how are you able to turn the page so that the end of the season went a lot better?
All of it comes down to trusting the process. And part of that process is making sure that the work's getting done.
Remember 6th overall selection pick Lexie Hull? Well, guess what? She's suddenly dominating the scoreboard for the Indiana Fever. But the real deal is that Caitlin Clark, not some glitzy training schedule or trade secret, turned things around. Yes, you heard correctly. The rookie star transformed Hull's entire career with her plays, and I promise you won't believe the behind-the-scenes tale. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hull just revealed Lexie Hull hails from a basketball-loving household where the game was ingrained in every aspect of daily life.
Excited to be here.
So you have basketball in your genes. Your grandfather played basketball, your dad, and you have a twin sister who you played basketball with growing up. What was it like growing up in that family dynamic?
Well, we have a super competitive family, and having my dad play basketball collegiately, knew that basketball was going to be put in my hands at an early age. But my parents were, super excited about having us try every sport imaginable. So yeah, we grew up, my sister and I, playing a little bit of everything.
Being chosen as the 6th overall draft pick was a dream come true for Lexie Hull, who smashed numerous records while attending Stanford, securing her career as a professional basketball player.
You set all sorts of records at Stanford, winning a national championship. Can you talk about the transition from leaving college basketball and moving into the WNBA?
At least for me, it happened really, really quick. We finish up the Final Four, and then a week later, the draft happens. And then a few days after that, packing up my dorm room and moving to the Midwest. So it was a big transition, especially moving someplace that I had no connections, didn't know anybody there, didn't know anybody on my team. Coming in that year with a lot of rookies was really special. Coming in with people my age, people going through the same changes and transitions as me, I think really helped make it as easy as it could have been.
It seems like the ideal tale, doesn't it? It seems like a lifetime ago, but it was only last season that Hull started to 2024. Game after game, she would suit up only to watch from the sidelines, getting no minutes, no points, and no opportunity to prove herself. Can you imagine how that must have felt?
It's getting done, and at the beginning of the season, my playing time definitely looked different than it did at the end.
Social media was humming, but not in a positive way, and followers were becoming restless. How could someone who broke so many records in college suddenly fall behind?
The basketball part of the transition is really tough. Everybody out on the court was one of the best players on their college teams, definitely the best player likely from their high school team. So it's just this mishmash of the best basketball players, and then you're playing against people that have been there for years and years.
Hull's confidence plummeted as the losses mounted, and she started doubting everything: her abilities, her position on the team, and even her choice to play professional basketball. The team's difficulties did help, as they lost their first 8 games and only managed to win 1.
It's sick that we had lost so many games, and also feeling like we were better than that.
There were nights when she would lie awake wondering if she should just give up, pack up, and leave for home because it was that bad. But then something changed. You might think it was Caitlin Clark, and you're right, but what happened next was something nobody saw coming. Suddenly, Hull started getting minutes, not just garbage time, but real meaningful playing time. And she wasn't just on the court. She was making plays, setting up teammates, taking shots, and even locking down opponents on defense. It was like watching a completely different player.
My role is just getting to the open spots, and we have such a good offense that people find the open person. So to be that open person, you get excited. You get excited for the opportunity to shoot and score and be part of the momentum.
Prepare yourselves, because H just revealed some very important details regarding Clark's coming. We're discussing behind-the-scenes information that only team members are aware of, the kind of intimate knowledge that puts you in the locker room.
Going to your Fever season, looking at the offensive side of the ball, what is it like playing off of Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston?
I mean, they make my job really easy, right? It's awesome. And
You may be curious about how one athlete might have such an impact. I had the same notion until Hull disclosed the true nature of those initial activities. Hold on tight, since Caitlin Clark had unexpected effects for Lexie Hull's career in addition to the team. Let me illustrate something for you. Before practice begins, it seems like someone hit fast forward on the entire team. Clark is moving at a speed no one can match, throwing passes no one sees coming, and it seems like the air is sucked out of the room as everyone's eyes are fixed on her, wondering if she's truly as good as they say. You may be thinking, okay, but how does this help? Mayhem Hull, well, first it doesn't. She's seeing from the sidelines, and you can almost see her doubts beginning to surface. She's wondering how she's going to compete with that. It's like watching a Ferrari race a bicycle.
She's great. She's a great player, great person, obviously very hard to defend. So she's bringing a great offensive game to the Fever, and just excited to see how she does this year.
This is when the exciting part begins. This isn't idle chatter. Clark engages with him on a deeper level and doesn't just brag. This is true basketball strategy. She learns how to assess defenses, cut through them, and position herself to get the ball from Clark, who breaks down plays.
I definitely learned when to space, when to spread the floor out, but then also it's fun when the defenses stop staring at the ball. That's a perfect opportunity to back cut because they will know that you're going down to the basket. So it's just fun for me to get to read and really just read and react. I think that's really all cutting is.
When you are aware of what at practice after practice, Hull's game begins to change. She moves and thinks differently. It's as if Clark has discovered some latent talent in her. She's making cuts that she never would have tried before and has a completely different perspective on the court.
And I think it's really fun because they garner so much attention, obviously, from the other team's defense. So then it allows the other players, me included, to make cuts, make reads, and they're really good at finding, those openings and giving the ball up when it's needed and finding the better shots. So it's really fun, and I feel really lucky to get to play with them.
When Hull takes the court for the first time after Clark joins the team, it's like watching a totally different player, confident, aggressive, and making plays all over the place. All she has to do is position herself correctly, and Clark's pass will find her, and she will shoot. The fans are going crazy, wondering where this new Hull came from.
It pops with watching the Fever as a whole, but watching Caitlin when she's out there, just the passes that she is willing to try. And some of the tight windows that she'll toss out there, obviously the transition outlets and stuff. How much of an adjustment was it for you to play off of someone that passes like that?
I mean, I definitely got passes and tried to finish when I wasn't expecting to get the ball. So now it's okay, every cut I have, every cut I make, every fast break I run, I have a real opportunity to get the ball, which definitely took me a second. And I think it really just took one of those to really get my head around oh, she's all the way down at the other end of the floor and she could still make the pass to me down at the block at this end. So, it's been awesome.
Not overall, but observing Caitlin when she's out there simply making passes that she's willing to try. Some of the tight windows that she'll throw out there are clearly the transition outlets and stuff. Makes you wonder how big of a transition it was for you to play off of someone who passes like that.
She sees the game at a bigger scale, obviously with the platform that she's created for herself, and then that's transitioned to the game. It's huge. And I think for me, especially as a point guard and as someone that's delivering a lot of the passes that lead to shots, if I miss, she's definitely going to say, you got the next one. I can count on her for keeping me confident and positive. So yeah, I think that shows the player that she is and the leader she is as a point guard.
Clark's abilities alone did not make the difference. Hull revealed a lot about what transpired behind the scenes. Not only did Clark revamp the Fever's offense, but she also altered the team dynamic, individual performances, and everything else. Everyone's game significantly improved as they began to receive accurate passes, even from the most difficult areas.
And it's really awesome to get to know her as well because, she's a great person, but you have all these expectations put on her and our team has put on her and fans have put on her. So to see her kind of be so mature in that transition, it's been really awesome. And I'm just really proud to, have her on the team, and it's been exciting.
It's unbelievable that a rookie superstar would take the time to encourage her teammates. That's the kind of leadership you can't teach everyone. Caitlin Clark's enthusiasm and confidence grew stronger with each game, making the Indiana Fever unstoppable.
All of it comes down to trusting the process. And part of that process is making sure that the work's getting done. And at the beginning of the season, my playing time definitely looked different than it did at the end. So trusting that, I was staying ready, putting in the work so that when I did get the minutes out on the court, that I could take full advantage of them. So I was just really proud of myself for trusting the process.
Thus, there it is. Caitlin Clark saved Hull's career by being a great teammate who elevated everyone around her to new heights, not only by making spectacular passes or scoring goals.
The Indiana Fever had a history-making year. What was that like for you to be a part of that?
I'm really grateful for the opportunity to not only play in the WNBA, but to be on a team like the Indiana Fever. I've seen so much growth, not only on the team side, how we're performing on the court, but also the growth in fans. I mean, on the road, it felt like home games. We're playing in sold-out arenas that we have not played in the last 2 years before that. So, I mean, it's just really exciting.
Lexie Hull had gone from being a bench warmer to a vital member of the Indiana Fever's starting lineup. Her rise from a rookie who was sidelined to a major player was nothing short of amazing, and her influence didn't end there. If Clark's appearance doesn't make you enthusiastic about the team's future, I don't know what will. His presence increased viewership and put the Fever back on the map.
Closer.
All right, now going to the shooting, as Steve and I both talked about how amazing the shooting was for you, particularly post-Olympic break. Was there a jumper tweak? Was there just a level of comfort that you found? What would you attribute that kind of stretch to?
Lexie Hull also worked on and made tremendous progress in her shooting.
I think one thing that our coaches did during that break, I mean, we had a full month of practice pretty much during the Olympic break, and they would put up every day after practice our shooting percentages from 2s and 3s during drills, during scrimmages, during everything. And I think that helped me because, some people were probably like, it's so annoying, whatever, but I personally liked it because in my head, when I'd leave practice, I was like thinking about the 5 shots that I missed or the 10 shots that I missed.
It all began when Coach Sid changed things up by instituting a new practice regimen that Hull first attested. Every day following practice, the team's shooting statistics were displayed for everyone to view on a large board.
I mean, it was like clicking after the break. And I think a lot of it is mental. I didn't change anything about my shot. I didn't change the amount of shots I was getting in practice. I mean, like all of that preparation stuff.
But then an odd thing occurred. It seemed as though she had been wearing blinders previously, concentrating only on her misses, because Paul couldn't believe her eyes when he looked at those figures. She was good, really good, and the stats didn't lie day after day. Her percentages were up there, with the best on the squad.
Xander Lassini, some good length on the perimeter on Caitlin. That is a tough pass, and somehow she got it in.
Man, the pass and the cut.
Can you believe that Hull had been her own worst enemy for so long? But after seeing those numbers every day, everything changed. Her confidence began to grow faster than a weed, and in the spring, she started taking shots she had never imagined taking and making them with Clark setting her up with perfect passes. Everything began to click, and Hull wasn't just playing, she was thriving.
Imagine. So it gave me confidence that I was performing better than I think I was perceiving my performance. So I think it all comes down to like the mental side, at least for me in that second half.
How did this change in perspective result in Hull's spectacular performance? It's really that easy. Once she began to believe in herself, everything else fell into place. She used to hesitate on those shots, but now she takes them without thinking twice, and she's snagging passes out of the air as if they weren't there.
All of these people were supporting me this whole time, and I didn't know that they were supporting me until that moment. So like you kind of forget that there's these people behind the scenes until they come out of the woodwork and say like, I've been following along this whole time. Like, I'm so proud of you. And that just feels so good to know that there's, such a community behind everybody on our team, even when you don't hear it every day.
H used a simple, almost absurd mental trick to change her entire strategy. She just began concentrating on her strengths rather than her weaknesses, and she didn't use any complex meditation techniques. Fans noticed her newfound swagger on the court, and it became popular on Twitter. It was like watching a butterfly emerge from its cocoon, except this butterfly could drain threes like nobody's business. No sports psychologist, just a good old-fashioned shift in perspective.
Walking through the grocery store in Indianapolis and like trying to just go get some groceries and someone fist bumps me and says, "Go Fever." Like that's just a really cool environment, and it shows, the dedication of the fans and the fandom in the city. So that part's been awesome.
After a game, you're scrolling through your phone when all of a sudden there are thousands of notifications, some good, some bad, and overwhelming. You think hitting clutch shots is difficult? Try navigating sudden stardom. Hull's confidence on the court was soaring, but off the court, that's where things got really interesting. How did Hull manage the attention without becoming agitated? As the temperature began to worsen, the response might surprise you. Fans of Hull were everywhere. I mean everywhere. Remembering the days when she could get some milk without making a scene? Those days are long gone, but she told us about this crazy incident at the grocery store where she was just trying to get some snacks when someone suddenly bumped her fist and yelled, "Go Fever!" Hull claimed to think it was fantastic, but really, it must be too much to bear.
Hard. Like, it's easy to say, like, yeah, don't read it, but everybody does a little bit. And I think it's having like that support system to help keep you on track. The biggest thing is finding people to kind of get you out of that cycle and get you to thinking about the positive things you did, even though a lot of times people online aren't talking about them.
Additionally, we all know how addictive social media can be, and Hull is no exception. She couldn't stop reading the comments when everything was going well. It was a high, but after one poor game, the haters unleashed their full power. Hull acknowledged that it wasn't simple, she said.
But I think along with that, we've seen, behavior by fans that is unacceptable. And there's growing pains, and we have to learn as we grow how to handle that. And I think as a league, we're learning the fact that people are talking about the WNBA, people are tuning in to our games. That's what we want to hear, and that's only going to get us farther as we go on.
She would find herself questioning everything she told us since it's part of the job, but it's not easy. You can really feel the weight on her shoulders. The pressure was mounting as she struggled to maintain focus following difficult defeats.
Our styles are so drastically different. So we were just joking, like, I wonder what it would look like if you could pull it off. And the first outfit was something so outside of what I would have ever picked out of my closet. And they're like, that's not going to look good on me. I'm like, all right, let's try. So then I tried it on and everyone was like, you pull it off, you pull it off. So then it just became part of the pregame tradition. And it's a really fun, lighthearted way to just, get us in the mood to play.
But this is where the Fever demonstrated why they are more than just a team. They're a family. When Hull was having trouble, her teammates came through and formed an amazing network of support. Hull disclosed their covert approach to managing finding someone to help you concentrate on the good things is the key to fame. That's incredible, and you won't believe what Hull and her teammate Erica Wheeler thought of to keep themselves grounded. They began a crazy pregame ritual in which they switched clothes. When she told us about it, Hull chuckled.
I think it's moving in a good direction. I think that it's because it's more competitive and there's more eyes on it. The pool of coaches that we can choose from, I think, will only get bigger and bigger. I think we're going to have great coaches coming up, and just excited to see, what those eras look like. Like, it's unpredictable at this point, but excited.
Can you visualize it? How did Hull and the Fever manage to thrive under all of this pressure by sticking together, focusing on the positive, and finding ways to keep things light? They didn't just survive the fame game. They mastered it. And isn't that what being a true team is all about, Lexie? These two WNBA stars are seen trying on each other's clothes, laughing, and having a great time before game time. It seems like they found a way to turn all that pressure into something enjoyable. The journey of Hull with the Indiana Fever offers a look at the franchise's future in addition to being a comeback tale. Hull's journey from a bench player to a vital contributor demonstrates what can happen when talent and opportunity align. But could the Fever sustain this momentum for the upcoming season? You may be wondering if they had a successful run, but this is where things get really intriguing. Hull expressed her excitement about the team's improvement as well as her individual advancement. You may be wondering what Hull is trying to tell the fans, so get ready, because this is going to give you shivers. Can you believe that it's not just about winning games, but also about transforming what the Indiana Fever stand for? With players like Caitlin CLK, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell by her side, Hull wants you to know that this is only the beginning, and that she is fully committed to trusting the process to ensure that the work is completed every single day. With the Fever not only aiming for the playoffs, but also for the top, the possibilities are endless for this team.